Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Friday's webinar from Alika Digital. It's myself and Stanley and Katie who is hosting today. Morning, Katie. And it's a great pleasure that we've got Matt back again. Matt's one of our regular speakers. Matt's going to be talking about location targeting like a boss. That's a cool name, Matt. Where did you get from that one?
Yeah, the cheesiest title I could possibly have thought of today, Anne.
And you're focusing on paid media, of course.
Yes, absolutely. So the presentation focuses mainly on using Google Ads as an example. However, a lot of the logic, a lot of the information from today's webinar does apply to the other paid media channels as well. So we're talking about Meta, Microsoft Ads as well, also relevant.
And Meta, of course, if you're not used to that, is Facebook and Instagram, which some people still haven't got used to it. So for those who've not been on one of our webinars before, what we do is we start off with a poll so we can get a few more people to sign up, and then we will then pass across. We just need to load up the handouts. Oh, they just need to be shared. So hopefully now.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if I'll speak to you about that afterwards, Anne. Because
no problem.
We might have the same issue as before with the logo.
I don't think the fonts on the handouts is a massive problem. I think
That's
it's
fine
just
then.
on the screen. Okay. We can always load them up again. Okay, so Katie, over to you for the polls, please.
Okay, I hope you can see this. So, does your business use or require location targeting right now? No, we do not do this at all. I am hoping to use this very soon. I am interested in this and need to know more. Yes, we're using this now, but could do this better. Yes, but we require further consultancy or training on this. And using this, and I am the master of location targeting. So I'm looking forward to who picks that one.
Yeah, absolutely. And you make sure you tick the right one for us.
So can we see the results? Are they starting to come through?
Yeah, so 25% are saying don't do it at all, 18% are saying hoping to do it very soon, another 18% are saying interested in this but I need to know more, 27% are saying using it, could do it better if they're honest. There's no masters of the universe or location targeting by the looks of it. And 6% require further consultancy or training on this, so that's interesting.
Excellent. Okay, I guess those numbers have fluctuated a bit, but we've got quite a mix by the sounds of it, haven't we?
Wonderful. Yeah, I think so. At least you know.
Excellent. So for those that are not familiar, what the protocol is now is myself and Katie disappear and hand over to Matt and leave it in his capable hands. We'll reappear about somewhere between 10 and 5:02, depending on where Matt gets in the slides. And what we'll do then is have a bit of a Q&A, and we'll then send the video out in a couple of hours. So over to you, Matt. Good luck.
Wonderful.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate it. So yeah, good morning, everybody. And welcome to today's webinar, which is location targeting like a boss. Use location targeting to grow your business. So for those of you, first and foremost, that don't know me, my name's Matt. And I'm a digital strategist at Alika. So essentially, I help businesses manage and strategize across the digital landscape, making sure that they are using all the different channels in an appropriate manner and working out ways that they can use channels in sort of new ways as well. So really, really exciting job that I get to do at Alika. And I've been doing digital marketing for about 11 years now. Of which roughly 7 of those years I have been specializing to some degree in paid media and paid search. So a little bit about Alika before we get started on today's webinar. We have 27 staff now, and we were established in 2007. So it was our 15th birthday last year, and we've got over 46 clients now. So a strong enough amount of clients to be able to offer a really, really good service for each of those individual clients. You know, it's important to make sure that everyone gets what they need from us. And as a team, we've got people that do PPC, do SEO, run all of the different social media channels, etc., etc. It's making sure that we can offer a sort of a full digital marketing service to each and every client and ensure that they are achieving the results that they want to achieve. A little bit about our team. So as you all know, probably, Anne Stanley is the founder and CEO, and then we've got Darren as the managing director and Angie as our operations director. You can see the whole team there, full transparency in terms of who we are and what we do. And for anyone that's interested, there's all the different information about all the roles that each team member has there as well. And a little bit about what we do. So as it says there, we invest in relationships with businesses and brands looking to drive growth and succeed in what they do. And a little bit of an idea about the services that we offer as well. But, excuse me, important to remember that all of these services interlink and work together as well. And any business that uses a website as uses digital marketing, they do require some sort of interaction with pretty much all of these different services and all the different channels. And as you can see there, it's all dependent on the outcome that you're looking for as well. And then finally, our pedigree. So we have got a vast experience working with tons of different companies in tons of different sectors across multiple different countries as well, in actual fact. And a few of our biggest clients there. So we've got Uber, we work with Palex, Experian, and a few others as well. So let's talk about what we're going to learn today. So first and foremost, we're going to talk about what is location targeting, and specifically in Google Ads. We're going to look at the different location targeting options. We're going to talk about the key to reaching all of your customers, no matter where they are and who they are. We're going to, and that breaks down into looking at location targeted campaigns and keyword targeted campaigns. And it will become a little bit clearer what I mean by both of those things a little bit later on. We're also going to look at how you can ensure your ads suit their purpose. And then finally, we've got a bit of an expert tip from myself as well. So that's looking at targeting locations in bulk. And for those of you that are well versed in Google Ads, you might find that really helpful. For those of you that aren't so well versed in Google Ads, you might find that one's a little bit technical, but we can cross that bridge when we come to it. And you will find in the handout section the downloadable version of this presentation today. So I've laid the information out specifically for the expert tip section in a relatively helpful manner, so that you could potentially sort of follow along with the information in there and hopefully use that expert tip to help your business. So let's get started with what is location targeting. So location targeting, or geo-targeting as it's often referred to, is a type of targeting that enables you to specify locations in which your ads will be shown. So specifically, you can target ads in different countries, in different cities or territories, or we might refer to them as counties if you're a UK-based business, or states if you're a US-based business. All sorts of different ways to refer to territories. We look at postcodes or zip codes, I suppose. Some people may refer to them as, and also targeting a radius around any of those types of location as well. Locations can also be used as exclusions, and that therefore enables you to exclude smaller, more specific locations within a larger targeted location. So we expand on that a little bit later on. But if you'd like to exclude London, for example, from your UK-wide targeting, then you are able to do that. So let's dive into the different location targeting options that are available to you. So first and foremost, we talked about countries. So country targeting is absolutely ideal for businesses who offer services in multiple locations across the world. So you can see in that image there, we've got Netherlands targeted, we've got Belgium, we've got Germany, Switzerland, and Austria as well. Just an example for you as to the type, as to how country targeting works and how those borders look, and exactly the way in which those can be selected. So all of the screenshots we've got today pretty much are taken from Google Ads and a couple from Google Ads Editor later on. But this same logic can also be applied to social media platforms, to Microsoft Ads as well. So definitely important to bear that in mind. You've got the ability to target users in any given country or group of countries. As you can see there, I do have a group selected. And you can also target them in whatever language you choose as well. So one great example of this would be grouping some countries together. But if you are a predominantly English-speaking business and your staff are all English, you might target Germany, Austria, Switzerland, for example, but then use the English language still. So anyone searching from Germany or Austria who is searching in English, they can find ads for your business. And like we said there, countries can be grouped together into one campaign, or you can target each country in a separate campaign as well. And that will be entirely dependent on the language of your customers, like we already discussed, the predominant language of your business, and also if you have a particular budget assigned for each country, if you've got a certain amount that you need to spend for each country on any of these platforms, you might look to split the countries into different campaigns so you can keep a much closer eye on those budgets. We then move down to cities and territories. So as an example, businesses with premises in multiple locations or cities might need to target potential customers in each of those individual cities. So these potential customers may be living in the city that you're looking to target, or they might be looking to visit that city at some point in the future, or they might work there or something like that. It is possible to target cities individually, or counties or states, as we mentioned earlier. So you can group them all together in one particular campaign, or you can, again, target all of these cities in individual campaigns in exactly the same manner. And that would be, again, to ensure you're spending particular amounts of budget in a particular area. The best way to do that is with an individual campaign. It is important to remember, though, that when targeting cities, this may not encompass surrounding areas. So if we use Sheffield as an example, you can see Dinnington and Chesterfield. Around Sheffield, you might be able to service those areas. But if you just target Sheffield, you aren't necessarily going to reach the people who are in Dinnington, Chesterfield, etc. So it would be important to ensure that you're thinking about that when you're using city and territory targeting. We can then also target by postcode or zip code. And businesses covering a smaller location, that's where this comes in a little bit more handy. So, for example, if you are an East Nottingham based business and you have determined that you want to kind of target or service people on that east side of Nottingham, just using Nottingham as an example here. I do use Nottingham as an example quite a few times throughout this presentation. That'll be because I'm living in Nottingham, love Nottingham as a city, and therefore it was quite a helpful location for me to use. But this same logic can be applied to pretty much any city. You might want to target people who live in a particular area or on a particular side of that city. So targeting individual postcodes enables you to have tighter control over the areas that you're targeting. And you can see there, I've selected NG1, NG12, NG14, and a few other locations as well. And you can see that how that looks in terms of the map as well there. If a business has multiple locations within the same city, and we do expand on this point a little bit later, but this could also be a good option to ensure that the most suitable premises shows ads to each user. So in theory, you might want to target if you have an East Nottingham version of the business and a West Nottingham version of the business or premises for the business, you might want to target the people in those two individual areas with two separate campaigns to make sure that they have the most local premises showing ads to those individuals. So moving on from the sort of slightly more obvious location targeting options, we then have radius targeting. So for any businesses that service a certain city and its surrounding towns and villages, radius targeting could definitely be a good option. Essentially, radius targeting offers a business the opportunity to target everyone within a certain mile or kilometer radius. So it is important to note that the smallest radius you can possibly target with Google Ads specifically is a 1 kilometer radius around a particular postcode or around a particular city or town or village as well. It is possible to target a radius, like I say, around any of the previously discussed location types. So yeah, around a country, around a city, around a postcode. And you can do this in kilometers, or you could also do this in miles as well. That's entirely dependent on the needs of your business. We can also exclude locations. So I touched on this briefly earlier, but you can see in the example here, I have used London as an exclusion. So businesses may have a need to exclude particular locations from their campaigns. Exclusions can be set for countries, cities, or postcodes. It may be important to use data to determine relevant locations to exclude. So what I mean by that is, let's say, for example, you've been targeting the entirety of the UK with your campaign. You may look at the data for the different cities that are included within that UK-wide location targeting, and you might determine that actually conversion rates for London aren't anywhere near high enough, despite it driving a huge amount of traffic to your website. With that in mind, you then might look to exclude London as a targeted location. And as soon as you exclude any given location from your campaign, irrespective of whether you maintain the fact that you are targeting the whole of the UK with that campaign, that exclusion will overrule the targeted location. So you can still maintain your UK-wide targeting, and excluding London would then exclude London. It does overrule that UK-wide targeting. And then something to think about is observation targeting as well. So we refer to observation or observational targeting as a way of quite literally observing the performance of a set of locations. So within any of your campaigns, under the location section, you're able to see where your ads were shown. Now, within that, you could break that down by cities, you can break that down by postcodes or territories. You can see all the data for the matched locations that your ad has been shown in. So in the example on the right, this was a business that are targeting the whole of the UK. And then when we decided to look at where our ads were actually shown, you can see that Swansea came out as the highest traffic driving location for this particular campaign. You can then see that London was second, Bath third, etc. But the important thing to bear in mind here is that just because you're targeting the whole of the UK doesn't mean that all of these locations work as well as each other. You might find that some drive huge amounts of traffic, but the conversion rate's low. Or on the flip side of that, you might find that a particular location doesn't drive as much traffic to your website, but the conversion rate is really, really good. Being able to observe all of these different match locations and see where your ad has been shown to different users is a really helpful piece of information, because it allows you to see the results for each of those individual locations and then make a decision on whether you'd like to exclude any of those locations. As we've seen, we can exclude those. Or it might mean that you're seeing a lot of traffic coming from a location. It's already working relatively well. Conversion rates are good. Might give you the opportunity to give that location its own specific campaign, its own individual budget. You can then look at improving on the results of that particular location even better. But as we say there, Swansea in this example may have achieved the most clicks, but it may not generate many sales. Whereas Birmingham, lower down the list, might produce less clicks, but it might have made you more sales. So that is the benefit of observational targeting. It gives you the opportunity to quite literally observe the results before you make a decision on which places to target specifically or exclude. So moving on to the key to reaching all of your customers. So bearing all of the information we've just discussed in mind and all of the different targeting options, how can we reach all of our potential customers? So businesses have a huge number of customers who are local to their premises, such as those who live or work in a particular area or a particular city. However, a large number of businesses also have potential customers who don't live nearby. Ensuring your targeting enables you to reach all of your potential customers is absolutely key to success with ads and for your business as well. So to ensure that we reach all potential customers, we do need two different styles of campaign. So the first would be location targeted, and a location targeted campaign, bears in mind all of the information we've just discussed. If your business operates in a particular city, you might target that city. If you operate in particular postcodes, you might target all of those postcodes. On the flip side of that, we have a keyword targeted campaign. Now, I'll discuss in a second a little bit more about what that actually means. Firstly, let's touch on location targeted. So first and foremost, the most straightforward type of targeting is targeting the location around your premises or business. So again, pretty sure you're getting to grips with the fact that I like using Nottingham as an example. But if you take a garden centre in Nottingham, they might need to target people living in and around the city to make potential customers aware of their premises, aware of the business. You know, if you have a garden centre and you want the people of Nottingham to come and visit that garden centre because they're all local and it's a pretty easy place for them to access, you would target the location of Nottingham. Setting up a campaign targeted with the location of Nottingham and using keywords such as garden centre near me or local garden centre would help them achieve that exact desired result. You can target all of the people of Nottingham and make sure they are aware that you are a local garden centre. The thing that time and time again, as a specialist in Google Ads, that we see businesses forget about is the fact that not necessarily all of the people they're looking to reach live in that local area to their business. And again, using a garden centre in Nottingham as an example, we might need to reach people who aren't currently in or around the city of Nottingham. So if a user lives in Nottingham, just again, as an example, if you live in Nottingham, but you work in another city, so let's say you commute to Sheffield or you commute to Liverpool or Manchester, you might be searching when you're outside of that targeted location that we've just discussed, so Nottingham. Therefore, a campaign that targets the whole of the UK, but uses keywords such as garden centre in Nottingham or best garden centre Nottingham would still reach those example users. So anyone who lives outside that city, but is searching for a Nottingham style keyword, so garden centre in Nottingham, they are still absolutely a relevant person for you to reach with your ads. And if you were targeting your campaign with a location of Nottingham, you aren't going to reach those users unless you target the entirety of the UK and give them the opportunity to search for Nottingham as part of that keyword. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. But it's definitely a step that I see a lot of businesses, even now, still miss, and you don't want to miss out on the potential of those customers. Moving on to ensuring your ads suit their purpose. So firstly, we've got some use cases here, basically. We're going to talk through a few different ways that particular types of business might use the different types of targeting and how you can ensure that your ads are best suited to target the people within the different locations that you're targeting. So businesses that have the ability to service the entirety of a country, such as an e-commerce business that's based in the UK and can post their products to anywhere in the UK. You may wish to target the entirety of the country in the first instance. Your ad copy is going to be very, very important here. And in all of the examples that are to come in this section, we give you a little bit of an idea as to how you should write your ad copy to ensure that you're reaching the customers with the right messages. So in this instance, your ad copy should focus on introducing the business to those potential customers, showing showing for product or service related information or product related terms, ensuring that you are writing your ads in a manner that matches that searcher's search, I suppose, and making sure that you inform all of those individuals, all of those users, of the USPs of your business as well. Like what does that person, why would that person buy products from you? What makes you different from the rest of your competitors? It's definitely important to note that when targeting a whole country, you're still able to observe audiences at a county, city, or postcode level as well. So, as already discussed, making sure that you're constantly checking to see which areas of that country are performing well and which ones aren't performing so well, then gives you the opportunity to look to exclude certain areas or, as mentioned, set a few of those locations aside into a different campaign, target them specifically, and improve your results in that manner. We then have a look at businesses in multiple cities. So a business that covers a large portion of the country, but has local premises or branches, will still need to target a huge area, but they'll need to target users who are likely to visit each individual branch separately. So unlike our first option, targeting the whole of the UK, if you service people in particular areas of the UK, particular cities within the UK, for example, such as a chain restaurant, then campaigns should be split to target users who are currently in a location near the premises, searching for restaurant near me, for example. Or you also need to target people who are anywhere in the country, but searching for restaurant in Sheffield or restaurant in Derby. You want to make sure that you are encompassing, as mentioned, both types of user, whether they are in the location that you currently service or are looking to visit that location at some point. You know, for example, myself, if I was going to have a weekend away in Manchester, I might want to search for, best restaurants in Manchester or, restaurant in Manchester or something like that. Start to build an idea of which restaurants are the best in the local area. But I'm searching from Nottingham. So in order to be reached by businesses in the Manchester area, but when I'm searching from Nottingham, they would need to target theoretically the entirety of the UK, which would encompass Nottingham, and then show ads for restaurants in Manchester. Ad copy should still definitely discuss the business and its USPs, but it should also start to include location-specific information. So if you're the best restaurant in Manchester, start to talk about Manchester as the location as well. I want to, as a user, be reassured that you are definitely in the location that I'm searching for. So including information about the fact that you're in Manchester is definitely relevant there. And then moving on to multiple businesses within the same city. So we touched on this a little bit earlier, but essentially similar, God, that's a word and a half, isn't it? I'm not even going to try and say it. Businesses that cover multiple cities work in a very similar way to businesses that are within the same city, but have multiple premises in that same city. So using a restaurant as an example again, and also using Nottingham as an example again, if a restaurant has two locations within Nottingham, one northwest and the other southeast, you might wish to split your location targeting to ensure that users are shown ads for the most relevant, that are most relevant to their current location. You're also, again, able to do this by targeting the whole of the UK. Let's say, for example, your restaurant is located in Arnold in one instance, and then in West Bridgford in the second instance. You would target people across the whole of the UK for best restaurant in Arnold or best restaurant in West Bridgford. You might even go down the route of the specific type of restaurant, Indian restaurant in West Bridgford, Indian restaurant in Arnold. You are still able to target users searching for restaurant in Nottingham searches, but ideally in that scenario, you would need to have a landing page that gives the user the option of working out where those two restaurants are, working out which one is most relevant to them. So in this scenario, it's very important to bear in mind that if you do have two locations in Nottingham, having a landing page on your website that discusses both those locations it just gives the user that option. It makes the user's experience of finding your businesses much, much better, because at the end of the day, if you do have 2 premises in Nottingham and only list one of those, or try and drive all the traffic to one location, the managers or the owners of the second business that's missing from that page, they might be a little bit insulted, and realistically they're not going to get as much footfall because they're a little bit tricky to find. So ensure you leave that option open to the user in those instances, especially if someone has only specified Nottingham and not a more localized area such as Arnold or West Bridgford. And then finally, if you are a business, for example, a small business, but you serve a large radius, that's where this is a really good example of where radius targeting can come into play. So if you have a premises within any particular city, surprise, surprise, I've used Nottingham as an example again. But if you're able to service that city and multiple surrounding cities and towns, you may wish to use radius targeting. So as we mentioned with targeting a particular city, this does take out that issue of just targeting that city itself and not the surrounding areas, especially if you're able to service those surrounding areas. You want to make sure your ads can reach the people in those areas as well. In this instance, it's definitely worth considering the distance that you're willing to travel to offer your service to potential customers, because that would absolutely determine the size of the radius that you look to target. So again, from Nottingham here, if you can reach Grantham and Newark and Mansfield, if you're happy to visit all of those areas, make sure that your radius encompasses those. But, if somewhere like Oakham, as an example, down there in the very bottom right, or Leicester, if that's a little bit too far for you, you might look to reduce the size of that radius as well. When writing ads to suit this purpose, it's important to still consider the USPs of the business, as well as ensuring you inform the user of where the business is based. So if you're a Nottingham-based business, but you're servicing Newark, make sure the user knows that you're a Nottingham-based business still. That's still quite important information. And also how easy it is for you to offer your service to that user. So it might be important to state things in your ad copy like "we come to you," or covering all of Nottinghamshire. If you do cover all of Nottinghamshire, someone in Newark, someone in Mansfield, they're not going to be put off by the fact that you're Nottingham based if you can cover all of Nottinghamshire. So it just ensures users know that you can still fulfill their needs. Okay, so finally, we're moving on to an expert tip here. Now, a little bit of whoopsie daisy. So a little bit of a word of warning. This does get a little bit technical and scary. So for those of you that aren't quite as well versed in Google Ads, this section might be one to revisit. But believe me, when you've been working in Google Ads as long as I have, this kind of sort of helpful tip is something that can save you tons and tons of time moving forward. So I'm going to have to jump backwards there. Unfortunately, I've got the slides in the wrong order, so apologies. But it's very helpful to be able to target locations in bulk. So if your business operates in hundreds of locations across one country, or even hundreds of locations across multiple countries, it can be very tricky to ensure that you reach all users in all of those relevant locations very quickly. For example, if you'd like to build awareness of all of the different businesses across all of your locations using a display ad to present an offer to users within a small radius of each branch, it can be a really lengthy task. The reason being, you cannot target multiple radius locations in any quick manner from within the Google Ads interface itself. You quite literally have to put each individual area, so let's say a particular postcode in, you then have to type in the location around the area that you'd like to target and then add them one at a time. And, if you're trying to target 400, 500 different locations, boy, does that get old really quickly. Believe me. So here is a 3-step process, and you will have to excuse me again. I'm going to have to skip past the slides that that were meant to be there for my own entertainment, really. But yeah, here's a 3-step process to target hundreds of radiuses or radius locations really quickly using Google Ads Editor. So first and foremost, we need to extract the latitude and longitude of each of our locations. So as a digital marketer with a list of multiple businesses to target, obtaining all of the postcodes is generally a pretty straightforward task. I'd be very surprised if you work for a company that has, let's say, 400 different locations up and down the UK. I'd be very surprised if there isn't a list of all the postcodes of all of those locations kicking about somewhere. Some advice would be ask around for a list of all of those postcodes. And, you know, ideally, you'll want that in an Excel or a Google spreadsheet. So again, using Nottingham as an example and using a list of Nottingham postcodes. Once you have your list, you'll need to convert all of those postcodes into a grid reference. There are tools across the internet. If you search for convert postcode to grid reference, you'll find tons on Google already. But I've also put an example of one that we've used here for this webinar, for the purpose of this webinar. So feel free to use that example. So all you'll need to do is take all of the postcodes in your list, input all of the postcodes into the tool, and then hit convert postcodes. And you'll be given a list, as you can see in the bottom right there on the slide, of all of the latitude and longitude details. Fantastic. That's step one sorted. You've got all of that latitude and longitude information. Step two is to create your spreadsheet in order to have your list of locations all in one place, all in one sheet in Google Sheets or Excel, whichever your preferred option is. So once you've obtained all of your latitude and longitude details, you'll then need to create this spreadsheet that will help you set up your new campaign. The spreadsheet quite literally just needs 2 columns. Your first column would be campaign. This can be whatever you like the name of the campaign to be in Google Ads. So in this example, I've just put location radius campaign, but you might want to be a little bit more specific with that. You might want to talk about if it's a display ad campaign, you might want to mention that it's a display ad campaign in the campaign name. If you're targeting a particular set of locations that are Nottingham-based locations or Nottingham-based radiuses, you might want to put that it's a Nottingham campaign, whatever you'd like that to be. In the second column, you need the location so you need the radius and the latitude and longitude information all in one cell. So there are ways that you can combine your latitude and longitude information all into one cell. You can use formulas to do so. Any of you that are particularly techie and know how to use formulas to pull all information from 3 separate cells, for example, into one cell, you'll find a really quick and easy way to do this. But you need to make sure that the format of that cell is radius, colon, your latitude, colon, longitude, and all in little brackets. So for those of you that need an example, you can see the example here on this sheet, on this slide for the webinar as well. And like I mentioned, this particular PDF of the webinar is available to download from within Big Marker. So hopefully you've all got a copy of that by now. And then finally, we need to upload our list to Google Ads Editor. So within Google Ads Editor, there is an option to make multiple changes. So you select this option and then copy your information from your spreadsheet. So that information you can see there, in this example, we've just used 4 different locations. So copy all of the campaign information and the location information. And then you're going to want to choose paste from clipboard. And that will push all of that information, as you can see there on the right-hand side in our second image down. It will paste that information directly into the Google Ads Editor platform. You're then going to want to click Process, and that will quite literally push all of those locations into your into a new campaign called Location Radius Campaign in this particular instance. And that can now be uploaded to Google Ads. So what we've achieved here is we've extracted a load of postcodes. We have decided on a radius that we like to target. In this instance, it was 1 kilometer around those particular postcodes. We've then used a tool online to change those postcodes into latitude and longitude, so into a geo-target location. We've then created a spreadsheet that has the name of the campaign that we'd like to set up and that location information all condensed into one cell. We've then imported that information into Google Ads Editor and uploaded it to our campaign. So you can see here in the image in the bottom right that we are now targeting 1 kilometer around each of those individual geo locations into those individual latitude, longitude locations. Hopefully, for those of you that are well versed with Google Ads and Google Ads Editor, that wasn't too much for you. But again, you can use this information to follow along if you've downloaded the PDF. And for those of you that aren't quite as well versed in Google Ads, definitely have a look into the ways that you can use Google Ads to target users. No matter where they are, if they're relevant to your business, they are worth reaching with an ad. So to wrap that all up for us today, in summary, the keys to using location targeting like a boss. Again, just coming back to like a boss. I don't know why I did that to myself. It's far too cheesy. So the keys to using location targeting like a boss are determining the most appropriate location targeting options for your business, ensuring your ads can reach potential customers wherever they are, ensuring your ads suit their required purpose. Make sure you're talking to people about an area that your business services or about the location that your business exists in. And then also using Google Ads Editor to target locations in bulk. Really, really powerful way of using location targeting in a quick manner. So I hope that that webinar has been helpful for people today. I really appreciate everyone taking the time to come and watch. And absolutely, if there are any questions, I'll be more than happy to take those now.
There was a good question that came in, actually, just about if you were to do a B2B industry event in a specific location, how would you go about it, Matt? And also, do you have any success stories of using this kind of methodology?
Just repeat that for me, Katie. Sorry.
So basically, if you're going to do a B2B industry event in a specific location,
sure,
how would you go about it?
Okay.
What would you do? And if you've done this before, have you got any good examples or kind of success stories around it?
Okay, so theoretically, if you're running any sort of event in a particular location, be it B2B or B2C or whatever it may be, you first and foremost, you want to be targeting people that are looking for that particular event. Now, it would be irrelevant, like generally for events, people will travel, up and down the country. They might even travel to a different country to go and visit that event. So assuming you're a relatively well-known event or people are aware of you, you would want to make sure you are using your event's name or names associated with your event and targeting people across any sort of area, any city, any country. So let's say you run an event in London, but you want to target the whole of the UK. You want to make sure that you do target the whole of the UK and allow people up and down the country to find the name of that event on Google. If you're running a B2B event, and again, that event is in London, you might want to target people up and down the UK with anything that is associated with that event as well. Or even things like, if you're running a digital marketing events in London or digital marketing event in London.
I've traveled all over for digital marketing events in the past, so yeah. Yeah,
exactly. And this is the important thing to bear in mind. Just because you're a London-based event doesn't mean that only people from London are going to be looking to visit that event either. People might come all the way from Scotland. So theoretically, you want to target people based in Scotland as well. You want to target potentially, again, the whole of the United Kingdom, but make sure you're using keywords such as digital marketing event in London, or maybe a specific area in London, or a particular venue in London. So if your event is at the XL, digital marketing events at the XL in London, or digital marketing events at the XL. Yeah. It's just about making sure you are finding those users wherever they may be, not restricting yourself to target just a specific location, because people do travel for particular events, to go to particular cities. If you're going on holiday, being another good example, you might want to research the area that you're visiting. It doesn't mean you're already in that area. So it's making sure you match both use cases.
What I've done in the past is considered where they're travel from. So
that's a good point, Anne.
Further up the motorway routes, for example, because people will go if there's a good train route. So that's a good example.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry.
I just said, yeah, absolutely.
Right, I think you need the transport links, and you need
exactly. Sometimes it's a really good point, Anne, and sometimes it will be budget dependent. Theoretically, you might not be able to afford to target the whole of the UK. So, and again, great example. You might target people that are the most likely people to visit a certain area.
Yeah, I mean, for example, I've been doing marketing for my lodge in Cornwall, and I was talking to the agency that were doing some marketing as well, and they got people sort of north of Sheffield. And I sort of thought, well, actually, I wouldn't be, it's 5 hours from me from Leicester. Am I really going to travel the extra hour from Sheffield or more from Leeds? But interestingly, there's quite a lot of new airports that go directly to Cornwall. If anybody wants to go to Cornwall and wants a holiday lodge, let me know.
I knew you were going to drop that in, Anne. I'm surprised you've not got a pop-up especially to go and book it.
But my point is that if you've got an airport that serves that area, actually you could do targeted advertising around that airport, or even in the airport. If you were doing out of home, because they do digital out of home in a lot of airports now, and then that would serve you. The other thing I was going to mention was the concept of dividing the country up into a jigsaw puzzle. Yeah. So I think you may have mentioned this. I actually got distracted with a phone call, so I missed a little bit at the end. But what we did with franchisees was we divided the country into jigsaw puzzles that wasn't necessarily based on who was the nearest, but actually the areas those franchisees serviced. So you had to have the bulk postcode upload, because you might have somebody, for example, if you've got somebody that lives in Loughborough, but there's a franchisee in Nottingham and one in Leicester, it's not necessarily the nearest one that will be servicing that geographical area, because they're allocated postcodes. So that's quite important. Another thing that we did for Switch My Business, which was a B2B example, which is why I thought I'd mention it in request to this particular question, was we used postcodes for that, but we used a data sheet and something called ad customizers, where we inserted the postcode based on where they were searching from and the discount that they would expect from that location, using ad customizers. Now, because the ads have changed to responsive ads, you can't do as much of that as you used to. However, I know that if you spend enough money, Google will still let you use data sheets and for feeding into ad customizers. But ads can include the location as well. So there's a certain type of ad that can include the location, and you can feed what that location is.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's all extra steps to make that campaign more and more focused around the user. And, like we discussed through the presentation, it's a case of, if you're a Nottingham-based business, targeting Nottingham-based people, it's really relevant to talk about Nottingham. People that live in Nottingham would love the fact that you're a Nottingham-based business. But also people looking to visit Nottingham, they'd also love the fact that you're a Nottingham-based business. So talking about that in your ad copy, you're right, Anne.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think what happened with ours, we got a 20% uplift in click-through rate with the Switch My Business case study. And as a result of that, the quality scores went up. And as everybody that's done Google Ads before will know, if you increase your quality score, the PPCs will go down. So, and in their particular case, they were already number 1 and 2 for everything. So they had what we would call 100% impression share. So by improving the ads and that was the only way they could get any more traffic, was by increasing the click-through rates. Yeah. So this was the award that won us 3 drum awards, including the Grand Prix, because it also did some other really sophisticated stuff as well, including bringing back so in this case, this was lead generation. But what we were able to do was we linked Salesforce to it. And then we were able to get the data from Salesforce on the average contract value and almost make a lead generation into a pseudo e-commerce site. And that worked amazing, got amazing results on both the click-through rates and the conversions. But that was that localization of having something that's really specific for that geo-targeted area, making the key phrase relevant, the ad relevant, and the landing page relevant. And a lot of that you can now do with personalization tools as well, so you can take it that next step forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a huge amount of
you could do. One thing that's easily forgotten is, especially these days now with the new types of ads, the responsive search ads, is that making an ad as relevant to the search term as possible is still a very key part of running a Google Ads account. And if you are showing ads to someone who searched for restaurant in Nottingham, putting in your ad restaurant in Nottingham, it's a really basic concept, but it can have a huge knock-on effect on increasing click-through rates and reducing cost per clicks as well. It's really, really basic tactic, but again, it's still vital to make sure that you're doing that.
I think also from a broader perspective, how you can use this as holistically from an integrated approach. I've run big campaigns in the charity sector in a previous role, and we used to have appeals for certain areas, and we knew what areas, say for a specific country, had the propensity to give, and then you could create lookalikes. And we used to run advertising on the trains and specific routes, as Anne was talking about, and then also radio campaigns, and you can just make it all intertwined. So I think it's such a it's so relevant today, and I've really enjoyed this webinar. I have actually asked people for reviews before any more people leave. Matt's put a lot of effort into this, so
yeah, that'd be great, guys. If you've got any feedback, if you would like to leave me a review, that'd be really, really good. I'd really appreciate it.
Cool, excellent. Is there any other questions, Katie?
There was one a while ago, but I knew it was just about if you're in one area and want to target another area, would it work? But you went over all that straight in the next two slides, Matt. So I said to them, just wait, no spoilers kind of thing. So I think that's it. There's nothing else. No, I think that's it.
So yeah, Ainsley, just to reiterate, for your purpose, because I can see that you asked. So if you only target ad for a garden centre in Nottingham but work in London, does that mean if you search whilst in London a garden centre in Nottingham, you can't find it? Ainsley, yeah, you're absolutely right. Theoretically, if your location targeting is just on the location of Nottingham, then if you're down in London, there is a really strong chance you're not going to see an ad for garden centre in Nottingham.
Unless you include
the best way to ensure that you do that, or the users do see that advert, would be to target London or target the whole of the UK, and then use keywords such as garden centre.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say, because the keyword overrides it, doesn't it?
Exactly. That's where the section of the webinar comes in so important, where it's still important to bear in mind there's two different types of location targeting. There is targeting quite literally using the location settings in your campaign, or there is location targeting a much wider area, so the whole of the UK, but using that location keyword. So the Nottingham-based keyword, garden centre in Nottingham. It's two completely different styles of campaign, but both reach very, very important potential customers.
Yeah.
Okay then. So that's it for this week, really. You can catch up, obviously. You can rewatch it. You've got your handout.
What's next week?
I knew you were going to ask that.
Is that me? I've got one on. I'm working on one at the moment. I guess most of you would have heard about ChatGPT, and also if you haven't already had a chance to watch the webinar that Martin and I recorded the first week, I'm going to be doing a follow-up on that, on actual how to use ChatGPT with a load of templates and how to completely revolutionize what you're doing in-house and how to save loads of time. So that's going to be, I think that's in the next couple of weeks. Also, just some news. As I sort of explained to you, we are starting a podcast. Unfortunately, Andras, her new creative guy was off sick, so the editing hasn't been finished yet. So we're dragging a little bit behind on that. But our plan is to sort of by the end of January to get the first 4 podcasts up. So you'll be able to listen to this and spread the word to lots of other people.
And just to say, next week is about Chat GPT.
Oh, it is mine. Okay,
there it is. Yeah, I just wanted to double check because I know there'd been a couple potentially moved around. So yeah. Sadiq, we'll be sending everything out. You'll get the first invite Monday morning, so you'll definitely get invited to the next one. Please don't worry. Yeah, that's it then.
Brilliant.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot, everyone. Thank you for attending. I hope it was useful today.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.